guru to show me the way. Send me a guru every day. Get me back on track when I go astray. Enlighten me with your wisdom today. It might get weird, but that's alright. We're all just gurus helping each other through the night. Right here on Everyday Gurus. Everyday Gurus. Wake up, don't hit the snooze. You might miss Everyday Gurus. Everyday Gurus. Everyday Gurus.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Everyday Gurus. This is episode 9. I'm here today with Emma Farmer, somebody who I've met doing rideshare work, and I've had some pretty magical conversations doing rideshare with both Uber and Lyft, and something magical happens when you're connecting with somebody in that rearview mirror. Had a lot of magical conversations, but this was probably the most magical. It was like a 45-minute drive from nowhere, Arizona to like downtown Phoenix, Arizona, and it just flew by just like that. So I invited Emma to be on my podcast today because she's so insightful and was just great to talk to. So you're all in for a treat today as I have a conversation here on Everyday Gurus with Emma Farmer. Welcome, Emma. Good to have you.
Hi, it's just nice to be here. It's really funny how just a simple Uber driver pickup and just like leading to something like this is just really awesome.
Yeah, I think it's great. So thanks for being open to it.
Yeah.
And thank you as well for being an angel that day because I had just seen my life flash before my eyes. As you may remember, I had just finished a very frightening drop off of a passenger who was very suspicious. Um, not in a bad way or anything, but it was just odd. It was kind of like an oddball passenger where it's like, what's he doing out in the middle of nowhere? And I was in an area that I wasn't familiar with, and I picked up this guy, and he said his van had just started on fire, and like he hadn't had water for like 2 days, and there was just a lot of question marks that came up, and I was very close to phoning for help or some sort of emergency help, but I just had faith, like I'm gonna be all right, I'm gonna be all right. Just finish the ride. And then I got through that one fine, and then there was Emma.
And you're like, oh, I gotta call 911 again. This is weird.
Another weirdo.
Like, geez, what a day it's been.
But no, seriously though, you were quite the sight for sore eyes, and basically an angel who had come to rescue me from God knows what I was getting myself into. But you know, that's part of the risks of doing that type of work, is you never know who you're going to pick up or where. And you know, I learned my lesson from that ride. But also on the other side of it was you. So I'm grateful to have met you, and now you're a guest on the show. So thanks for being here.
Of course.
If you could just take a minute to tell us a couple things about yourself and whatever you feel like sharing.
Okay, a little about myself is I do consider myself a Christ follower. So I don't really say I belong to any denomination. I'm kind of like outside of that, like the wild card of Christianity, where I just like calling myself a Christ follower. Um, a little bit outside of that, I would say I love art. I have this like passion to draw since I was a kid. It's kind of led me on my little journey to following that for college. So I'm looking to be an animator, but we don't know what's gonna happen in the future. But those are where my eyes are focused on right now. So yeah.
Beautiful. So animation, that's a really intriguing field and certainly up and coming, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, there's definitely difference with the animation industry now, just with technology being involved now, and it
Yeah.
just definitely like we're away from, I guess, traditional animation where you're like drawing each frame, and there was a lot more like, I guess, creativity with that. But nowadays, it's kind of less in value where it's whatever's cheaper and faster. But
Mm.
even with that, I feel like we still have amazing creators. Like, I don't know if you've seen the new Spider-Verse one. Um,
No.
it's really good. It came out in theaters a while ago, but it has like just an intricate way that they animated, and it was kind of different than I guess any other traditional way or new way. They just kind of like morphed different aspects of animation and like created something new. And I was like, this is, see, we can always be innovative. We can always learn from the past and then also take a little bit of that into the future. So, yeah.
Awesome. Wow, that's great. Any visions of how you can merge those two things, like being a Christ follower and an animator?
Yes, I definitely have considered that on how I'm gonna like, have those two bleed into me because my whole focus in life is Christ, and I always try to think of how can I better put that in all areas. And I would think that if you ever seen Narnia or Lord of the Rings,
Oh yeah.
like those actually have very underlining Christian values and biblical references from the creators. And it's like, oh, I would love to be able to do something where it's like, you don't have to be religious or believe in God to pick up some of the things that I want to put into the world that we should all kind of relatively have the same morals, if that makes sense. So. Yeah, I want it to be like, it could be either a rom-com or a fantasy or, like I have a lot of different interests and like personalities to my side. So like it could be one story about, yeah, like a monsters or something, or it could be just like a normal like story amongst people going to school or something. But whatever it is, I want it to be very strong with the message. That's my important aspect to it.
Okay, can you clarify a little bit something that you mentioned a minute ago that we should all relatively have similar morals? Can you kind of give an example of one or two of those that you think
Yeah.
that we should all share?
I mean, I feel like we all kind of already have these morals inside us without like somebody needing to point it out. It's
Mm.
just more of taking that and putting it out there for everyone to see. So, like, for example, maybe not cheating on your wife and having like a structured family, with a mom and dad involved with their kid and striving to have that unit. Uh, Surpass any evil that tries to corrupt it, and I think it's just very important, and science does kind of catch up with it as well, that it's important to have your mom and dad. And, it's sometimes very rare to see it these days. A lot of people have divorces and stuff, and I kind of want to bring that back as to why do people value that, a relationship, a marriage, per se.
Thanks for sharing that. And I can hear it coming from your heart. So that must be on a personal level. Is that something that you've experienced, divorce in your family?
Yes, unfortunately, I had that experience when I was 14 or 13. And it was like the separation between my mom and dad. And, you never want it to affect the kids, but we're not perfect human beings. And that's kind of like when I started seeing a different light of my parents, that they're not superheroes, and they're
Yeah.
actually a lot more human than I thought, and that they can mess up. But even with
Yes.
that, it was like a struggle trying to, even with those downfalls, love them, like especially my dad, because he was not a perfect person, especially through that time. And it's just like, as the daughter, I feel like I was so lucky to at least have a glimpse of what a family was, because my dad was a great dad, like growing up. He was there. He did not abandon me, like thank God my parents didn't do that. But um yeah, it wasn't till that point that he started changing a little bit and started going down a path I cannot follow. So um it was definitely just like a lot of understanding growing up and trying to learn like what does it mean to have a father, and what does it mean to have a mother and be the daughter of that, and what is my role to play even with one of my parents who might be, really lost, and what can
Yeah.
I do as somebody who loves him to help direct him back on that path again. And
Mm.
it's like I can only try my best to live up to what he's already given me in the past of unconditional love. And it's like that is never measured to how much you do right things, right? It's just constantly trying to, give love in at the foundation of it.
I love that. Thank you for bringing that up. Unconditional love. That's one of the themes that original conversation had, and you shined light on something within myself that I had made conditional, which was my love for Jesus Christ. I'm very spiritual. I'm not religious either. I don't identify with any particular religion, but I have a picture of Jesus Christ above my altar. And I mentioned to you, like, yeah, I'm a fan of Christ, but only in his prime, not when he's depicted dying on the cross, because that makes me that's a symbol of shame and guilt for me. So I love the way you received that. And what you said was. Well, I see it a little bit differently. I see it as a sign. Well, I'll let you kind of explain. Like, what do you see as the symbol of Jesus dying on the cross? Like, how do you relate to that?
Again, I would say it's the greatest symbol of love. As terrible as that sounds, because it's like, how can we say that our Savior, our King, our God, came down in human form and decided to just not be this like really big brooding like, oh, he's gonna save the Jews from the tyrants of the Roman Empire and like be on a stag and have a sword in his arm. Like instead it was completely different than what we expected. And I can't imagine being back in that time not knowing what the future holds. Like we know from the Bible, we see the aftermath, we see where we're at now, but being in that time, just not understanding why he did certain things that he did, why he, chose to be humble when areas that you think you should be loud. And um, yeah, so just following with the whole other side of him of when he gave himself up to the soldiers and they just did probably the most despicable things that humans can do, crown of thorns and, everything that followed up to having to carry that giant weight, even when he was almost severely beaten to death. And that wasn't even what the Romans usually did when you crucified somebody. Usually, beat them a little bit, but not to the brink of death. You still
Hmm.
have to let them have enough strength to carry that cross. But for some reason, man, people just wanted nothing else but pain and death for that man. And yet he still was allowed to live a little bit. And like just knowing the strength that he put on for for people that he didn't even know or met yet, for he was thinking probably during that whole phase of going up to that cross is like you right now. He's thinking of or Emma and all these other people that are going to follow if he gives himself to be the ultimate sacrifice. And to even go into what sacrifice is from biblically standards, it's sin leads to death. The greatest restitution for sin for God is ultimately death. And the crazy thing of that is that God knew the greatest thing to save us from that is sacrificing himself. And so humbling himself, making himself uh, to become man, 100% man and 100% God at the same time. And so when he's up on that crucifixion and the cross, and how I remember there was two bad guys too that were on the sides basically, and one of them just was mock him like, man, can't you just get off this cross right now and basically do away with everybody, and was just like just this
Yeah, work a
despicable.
miracle, snap your
Yeah,
fingers.
like he was just like mocking him. He's like, how
Uh-huh.
how can you be the son of God?
Uh-huh.
And then on the other side, this dude that did not know Jesus but was in his presence just fell to him and was like, I am a sinner. Please let me be in your kingdom. And the next thing that he says is, you will be there with me, basically. I'm definitely butchering it, not word for word, but
Hmm.
like it's just like it shocks you because you're like, well, what does that even mean? Like why that guy was clearly a sinner, probably different than me, and yet Jesus is saying he's able to be in the kingdom of heaven. And so again, it's just one of the greatest depictions of love and sacrifice that like for people that you don't know and I don't know, it's different for me because I'll sacrifice myself for my family. I know them. I care about them. I have a relation with them. But what's the difference between a stranger then? Like, do you think you'd be called just as much as it was your own sister or brother or mom or dad for a own stranger? And that just shows me how much that's truly God, because only God truly knows all of us and could love all of us to do something like that. So
Well said.
the suffering, the weirdness of him allowing himself to be taken is because it was a form of he is the restitution for sin, and that none of us have to pay for our crimes in total judgment because he is the one who basically gave it all up. So,
Thank you for that, Emma.
yeah.
So yeah, that you really helped shift my perspective without being forceful, without, coming from a place of, oh, I'm right, you're wrong. But just by sharing your perspective, you helped me see something in myself that my love for Christ was conditional. Here, it was kind of hypocritical of myself, and I'm not judging myself for it. I'm not beating myself up, but it helped me see something like, oh, I see this man, this Christ, as a symbol of unconditional love, but my love for him is conditional. I only love him when he's in his prime, shining a light for me, lighting my way. But I don't love him so much when he's dying on the cross. That makes me feel icky inside. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so that really helped me see that and also heal that. Where now, if I see Jesus dying on the cross, which I mean, you can't go very far without seeing that, right? But
Yeah.
it's probably a daily thing, driving past a church or whatever,
Right.
gonna
Right.
see it. And instead of being filled with guilt or shame or anger or, oh, that shouldn't be there, they're trying to trick people into, feeling shameful, so they give them their money to the church. Instead of going down that rabbit hole of thought, it's more like this is a symbol of the ultimate sacrifice of unconditional love, of selflessness. And so thank you for that. You really helped shift
Yeah.
that in myself just by shining a light, really shining a light within me, where I could say, wait a second, this is a little bit hypocritical, but being open to a different perspective like yours really helped me heal
Well, I'm
that.
so glad that I could do something like that. Because I mean, that's not like my ultimate thinking in my mind of everything that I say. I hope it changed. It just literally is what I know, and it's the only thing that I can help somebody else. And sometimes I'm not even trying to help. It's just like it's just conversation. And I thought that was so amazing that somehow my knowledge or something did some kind of shedding light for you. Like that's just it really makes my day to hear that because I too will get into like honestly at the like ultimate not like loving God, if that makes sense. Like I'll doubt, and in a sense of that is that you're not trusting God, you know? And there has been times that I just have been so upset and I could not understand in an area of like losing my dad or the pain that he caused me of why God would allow something like that. And so I've been angry at times, I've been upset or I've been distrusting or just having an icky feeling as well. And so like I just can totally relate on that with you. Like it's hard.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But that's why we're in it together,
Yeah.
because it helps. It helps to have other people. That's what this podcast is all about, is everyday gurus. Everybody has a light to shine and a fresh perspective to help us see something a little bit differently. So that's why I invited you on this podcast, as you're just the perfect example of what this podcast is all about. Just an everyday person with so much light and so much wisdom to offer.
Thank you. You flatter me too much.
It's just coming from the heart. So I also kind of wanted to talk about some of the practical challenges that you're facing as a young woman in society today, because I think it's kind of important. So tell me, like, what you're doing for work these days.
For work, I work at Parker Fasteners, so it's my
Yeah.
stepdad's company basically. And the kind of job that I basically do, I'm a little bit all over the place. So I'll work with quality check. So it's a screw manufacturer company. So we'll take a screw and be like, oh, there's like a chip on there. That's bad. That's good. Like that's kind of one area that I was working at for a while. And then I end up kind of learning a little bit more because they needed help in other areas. And so I went to rolling department. And that's where we'll basically have the screws get threaded. You got two machines that are just like rubbing against each other and spitting them out. And so you
Hmm.
take the little part and have to go over and check it in the little experiment section or whatever and just make sure it looks good, quality is great. And then just kind of reload more into the machine, feed it more screws, and like it's definitely like a manly job. And
Yeah.
when I tell people that I do that for a living and they see this like feminine looking young woman, they're like, "What? Why?" And I'm like, "Well, it gets a lot of the bills paid. Like I don't, I'll do whatever I need to do to get where I need to get in life." So yeah, it's definitely like such a blessing to be able to have such a easy access because of my dad, but also the responsibility of just because he's my dad doesn't mean that I can slack up. Doesn't mean that I can miss work all the time. And that's kind of like a struggle that I've had recently.
So your stepdad owns the company?
He like is partial custody of it,
Okay.
basically partnership. But yeah, he was away for vacation with my mom. And so it's kind of funny, like when you don't have your mom around or parents, like it puts a lot more responsibility on you. Like, oh, are you gonna, be productive today or not? Like, because you don't have anybody, like, at least in the facility, like trying to tell you, like, oh, did you go to work today or something? So
Yeah.
I had messed around with my sister the night before taking pickle shots. No alcohol, just pickles. So, we were just being stupid, messing around. We even had like a cowboy hat too on, and we were listening to like old country music, and we're like, what a good day. We're just being
Yeehaw!
stupid. Yeah. Like, it was so dumb,
That's good
but it
times.
it was good times and I loved it. But of course, we did this at like 12 in the morning almost. And for my work, it's like an hour away in Buckeye. And so you have to literally
Yeah.
get up at like 5 in the morning to get there at like 6. And I just ended up sleeping past my alarm. And
Mm.
I woke up late. It's like 10:30. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like I jumped into my car, rushed to work, and I just felt so upset because it was just another pattern that I've been through where I have all these things that I know I could be productive of, but what's always killed it in the past has been me sleeping in, me missing it because I was up too late last night or whatever it is. And I
Yeah.
just realized like how much that was affecting my life, especially like it just kind of was like the cherry on top with my job. And like my mom's, she ends up texting me and she's like, "Hey babe, did you get to work all right?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I'm just like in my head, I'm like, how does she know? Like, I swear, like this is moments where I'm just like, man, if it's only God that's gonna allow my mom to know my downfalls so that I can make sure I have another helper pushing me to my potential of what I know I can be. And so I end up telling her the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, was up late night, you can blame London. And she was just like, Emma, like seriously, you don't want to lose this job. Like, you know how important, how much the pay is good, the hours, the schedule, like
Mhm.
you don't want to lose it and you don't want to push the limits of just because you're Matt's kid. And I'm just like, you're right. Like I've already been killing myself over this, trust me. But I didn't even want to like fight back with even saying that to her because it's like I better own up to anybody who's gonna get on me about it so that it can really like filter in that, hey, this is something you got to be responsible of. So I just like definitely have anything that I know that I'm kind of lacking, that's kind of what I do with prayer is ask God to reveal what needs to be pruned. So it's been my little journey so far, and I've been honestly getting back to having a good schedule sleeping in. So yeah.
Nice, nice. Well, you mentioned a couple important things there, responsibility and taking accountability, and it sounds like you learned your lesson, learned from your mistakes, and maybe there will be some more pickle shots in the future, but maybe a little bit more in moderation.
Yeah, maybe in moderation or maybe like not at night like that. Like maybe on the weekends.
Is there a hangover associated with that, or is it just like not enough sleep?
Maybe a hangover in your bowels, but other than that, like, not to get so gruesome, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, this show's uncensored, so.
I'll still try to censor myself, but hilarious.
Oh yeah, that's funny. So what's the age difference between you and your sister?
5 years apart. She's like 16 now, and I'm 21. So
Okay. Wow.
yeah. She
So
still, man, acts like she can put up herself with older adults than myself. Like she's very quick-witted with her humor, and I take that satisfaction that it's been from me raising her to to have that humor. But no, she's definitely made herself her own little person, and yeah, I just have such a good bond with that kid. So
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of truth to what you said though. Like I have two older siblings and a younger sister too. Two older brothers and a younger sister, and I notice all the time like how they've influenced me. You know, like certain mannerisms or things that I say that oh that's like Boomer, or that's like Martha. You know, my sister like or Andrew, my other brother. So I've kind of picked up a little bit from all of them, and there's definitely a whole lot of truth to that. That we are the company we keep. So we're
yeah.
heavily influenced by our siblings and the people around us.
Yeah, even if it's not like exactly what they put into you, it's also like anything that I do now is gonna reflect in that kid. So like if I think it's okay to miss work, she might think the same thing and
Hmm.
it's not as important, you know. So those bonds are very important and just like definitely sets you up for life, you know.
Oh, for sure. Is that the only sibling you have?
I do have step siblings as well. So I have one I think is 17. He just graduated high school. That's Jackson. And then the little ones are around, I want to say, gosh, they're gonna kill me if they're like, I'm not that age, you know, but the other ones are younger than my sister, but in like close range. So the little one, Sonora, she's the only girl other than my sister. I want to say she's 12, 13, and then 15 is Avery. So it's a lot. It's how many kids? Sonora, Avery, London, Jackson, then me. So it's a lot.
Awesome. Well, make sure to send them all this podcast because they all got shout outs. So shout out to all of them. And
They make so much fun of me seeing they're like, why do you keep doing that? Or why do you look like that? I'm just
well,
waiting for the insults.
well, tell them they can do a podcast and then you can roast them back. So
Yeah, you know what? That's a good one. Let me use that.
great stuff. So another thing that we had talked about before that I was curious about was we had a good conversation about the topic of relationship, like romantic relationship. And can you tell me where you're at with that and that point in your life?
So funny because maybe a couple months ago I was kind of like frustrated with not being able to find somebody that I feel is like, you know, on my league, you know, on my level. But it's always just a climbing the mountain kind of experience where it's like if you don't have somebody right now, should probably question why that is. And if it's not a relationship you're supposed to have in this season of life, what is? What are you supposed to put that attention, that a passion towards? It could be where it blossoms to have a relationship. That's why you have that gift, but it also could be that, oh, I'm going to put this into my art. I'm going to put this into my job. I'm going to care about my family, the people that I do have right now in front of me. And so that's just kind of been my focus lately is like I love so much that I'm not just gonna keep that locked away for a relationship one day. I'm gonna allow that to blossom and actually grow my love to where I could be attentive to my grandma or even a friend that I haven't talked to in a long time. Like just being able to have that singleness right now, you honestly can do the most amount of work before you end up having a relationship because a relationship is a responsibility and it's no longer Emma. It's now whoever that is. And then if you want kids one day, it leads to now just kids. Like everything has a moment in time. And so I say definitely appreciate where you're at right now.
Thank you. Very well said. Very insightful. And yeah, I think we have a lot of people in the world today who seek love outside themselves. And I love the way you put it. Let it blossom from within first and share it with who and appreciate whoever's in our lives now. And that's how love really gets nurtured and grows. And then we can attract like sustainable love and romance into our lives instead of just a band-aid solution.
I
And
agree.
we have people leaning on each other, clinging to each other, and building these unhealthy relationships that are founded on seeking love outside. And it's never found there. I mean, it sounds cliche, it sounds um, it almost sounds like a lie, but it's the truth. It's the truth that love blossoms from deep within, like you said. Um, and and there's no shortage of love, you know,
Yeah.
because it organically grows from inside the heart. There's no shortage, so there's no reason for people to be competing for the same person or thinking that time's running out or that any of those lies that we tell ourselves, you know, like there's abundance of unconditional love that needs to be cultivated from within. And I feel like people just don't know like what to do or how to start, you know. But I think you mentioned the most important thing is that gratitude, that appreciation for who's already in our lives, like grandma.
Yeah, like grandma.
Yeah, we forget about
Can't
grandma.
forget about her. You can't. She's the one that created you from the lineage, you know? And so, yeah, I think that's very important of just figuring out what is love too. Like that's from what I said back in the beginning of this is I'm a truth seeker. So I try to find out what's the source. I'm always the why, you know, like and where does it come from? And like for my, you know, journey in life has been to seek that truth, and it's been God. And so I would say that like love is always around and you can never, you know, not experience it like regardless of your life. I know everybody has like different demons or different just situations that could be more gruesome than the next, but we still get to open our eyes and see or hear or feel or just existing at all is definitely like to me a symbolism of love, and that to me is like there has to be a creator to it. So I would recommend first finding truth before you know understanding what love is, and then through that you'll be able to be mentored on how to love correctly, because sometimes people do love but it's tainted in like not the right way, but they'll view it as the right way. So it's like what is the ultimate right way to love? And I feel like all of us universally can experience that and show that. So
Yeah, beautifully said. And I think creativity is truthfully an expression of love at its core,
yes.
especially when done from that state of unconditional love. And that's what my spiritual path has been all about is creating from that state of love, that state of calm, state of joy, rather than states of anger or anxiety or suffering. Although creativity can be cathartic in releasing some of those emotions, oftentimes it gets, well, all the time, it gets imprinted upon the creativity. So, being a musician, being a podcast host, you know, I make sure I'm in like a state of unconditional love, a state of calm through meditation, through yoga, through taking care of myself. Some more extreme things like cold plunges and things like that. You know, I do it all basically. So,
Wow, that's awesome.
yeah.
You experienced a lot then of how to find that like way to have peace in this world, you know, the ice plunge. Like I've heard
Yeah.
about that. I would love to try to do that. I definitely have taken a little bit of time not yet to do it, but that's cool that what have you experienced through the ice plunge? Like
It's a instant transformation. Like if there's any tension or like tightness, it just like coming out of the cold plunge, it's just like my body feels like jello, you know, just like
really?
yeah, start dancing around and like to get the heat and the circulation going again, and it's just instant like bliss. It feels like it heightens the senses too, and it clears my sinuses. So like the best way I can describe it is I'm on like a Caribbean vacation, like instantly. Like
Wow,
I've been to the Bahamas a couple times and like Disney World, and it gives me that like on vacation feeling, you know, like like
that's
just
amazing.
totally relaxed and like blissed out and just feel like I'm in a whole new like space internally and externally, and it's just like and it lasts too for like a day or two. So I do them 2 or 3 times a week, and it's been a huge boost for me the past
Wow.
few months, especially here in the thick of Phoenix summertime. You know,
Oh, we need that. Yeah.
it's a great way to cool off.
It's kind of funny how you said that it gives you like basically just comfort and relaxation, right?
Yeah,
And what's interesting about the method though is that you actually have to go outside of comfort to find that, right?
yeah,
You actually have to make yourself feel uncomfortable with the ice hitting you, the coldness, but
yeah.
through that, the transformation happens to where you really are comfortable. Like that's a it's really weird.
Yeah, comfort through discomfort.
Yeah.
So, I would recommend trying it to anybody. You know, they're not for everybody. Like it takes practice. Like I've been doing cold showers for probably 5 years, cold showers. But you know, the showers don't get cold here in Phoenix in the summertime because you know everything's hot. Everything's hot. So I knew I needed to find a new way. So I started filling up the bathtub with ice, and it's even more effective than cold showers. And they're probably not for everybody, but all I know is it works for me, you know, and that's all I can share is that I've had amazing, amazing results from cold plunges. So anybody that's listening to this that wants to try it, I mean, it's not that hard. Like once you get past through the first minute or two, I mean, your body starts to adapt very quickly and just like you feel like you're melting into the cold water. It's kind of hard to describe, like you have to experience it for yourself, but all I know is the results are instant. Like uh, we all want instant gratification, right? Well, this is one of the few things that can give you that like instant peace, that instant bliss. Um, but yeah, there are simpler ways, you know, like taking a hike in nature or meditation or yoga. But I also definitely recommend the cold plunge.
There's just something like exciting with it. Like if you're like an adrenaline junkie, like try it.
Yeah.
I definitely like say like rule of thumb is a willing spirit will definitely take your offer up, but the flesh is weak. So it's like you still got to try to keep moving past that and do it. So I honestly, I might take you out for that. I might try that I'll say this week. I'll give myself a week to figure out
Yes.
what day.
That's a nice buffer. All right.
Yeah,
You let me know how it goes. I'm
I
anxious to
will.
hear.
Yeah.
I'm working on a video right now that kind of explains the process and how impactful it is for me, and it's got a lot of humor in it too. And I even wrote a song about it, so I'm going to be posting that within the next couple weeks. So um,
Awesome. I
hopefully
can't wait
that
for that video.
inspires. Yeah,
Cool.
but yeah, that's kind of been my journey. Anything I find that's useful, I like to share it with people, you know, because we need as many people like living in joyful states as possible. Like joy is like a rarity these days, you know. It's like it became cool at some point to be like depressed or emo or like sad or whatever. It became like the cool thing to do. It's like I'm trying to make happy cool again, you know. It's like when did happy become like dorky or like I don't get it, you know, like so I'm trying to shift human consciousness back to, you know what, let's be happy, let's take care of each other. And at some point, those things became uncool, you know, too.
Yeah, good. Yeah, that's what we need. Our generation starts going more into a slope of,
Yeah.
yeah, it's aesthetic to be depressed. It's like, now you know if you really are depressed, you don't like that. And you don't want to stay there. So
Right?
yeah, I agree with you. Like when you find something like you stumble across something so great and wonderful, you can't help but want to go tell the rest of the world because it's
Yeah,
like it's a truth that you found to be worth living, and
mhm.
doing. So I totally agree with that. I relate.
Thanks for understanding.
Yeah.
And that's kind of one of the things I do with this podcast is I meet somebody who brings a lot of light to my life, and I like to share them with as many people as are willing to listen. So that was kind of the whole process of bringing you on the show, and it's been a really fulfilling conversation. So I'm really grateful for the time, and thank you so much, Emma. I hope we stay in touch.
Yeah. Well, thank you. This has been such an experience, like, not just being able to have like a little bit of the spotlight, but to be able to hear just from you, like what your thoughts are on things and just your walk of life. And it just feels very like, I guess, like a good breath of fresh air because it's important to know people out there are trying to do the same thing in this life. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're all in it together. And
Mhm.
I'm a believer that we will shift human consciousness towards enlightenment and towards a more connected, more sustainable way of life.
I agree. I agree. Keep fighting.
I will. You too.
All right. Well, it was nice being on here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. Thank you, Emma.
Bye.
Bye.
When the path gets narrow and life seems tough, remind me I'm already enough. Even the boulders are part of my path and help help is available if I just ask. I need a guru to show me the way. Send me a guru every day. It might get weird, but that's alright. We're all just gurus helping each other through this life.